be seated. And here we are, the last Sunday of February, the last Sunday of pink and love, and we're focusing on this season of peace and nonviolence that the wonderful Gandhi and King, we observe that their great motto is something that we can activate in our lives. And so, as I welcome forward our Unity Chamber readers for this Reader's Theater piece, what we are going to be reading is an adaptation of the wonderful book by Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You'll Go. Now, also, we are honoring the very birth of Dr. Seuss, March 2nd, so that's coming up this next week. Now, this is an adaptation of this book by Reverend Scott Kalkstein Grace, with much apologies to Dr. Seuss, because his version is, Oh, the Places Your Ego Will Go. Your ego will travel with you on this earth and be your companion for worser and worse.
It pretends it's your friend, your bestest amigo, and then it pours on the guilt.
That's the mark of the ego. It's there to protect you, to help you be strong. So it has to remind you, you've done it all wrong.
You're weak and you're lazy, and you don't have a clue.
That's your drill sergeant ego trying to motivate you.
The ego wants to be all you can be, so it gives you these pep talks all day and for free.
Oh, the places you'll go, and the guilt trips you'll travel, as your ego plays judge and bangs on its gavel.
But you always can get some relief from your shame
by projecting it onto the others you'll blame.
For that is the ego at its beastiest best. It nurses its grievances close to its chest.
Republicans,
liberals,
your parents,
your ex.
The world is just teeming with folks to correct.
If only these fools would conform to your ways, you could go on with your life without further delays.
The ego's always finding new gripes to complain about.
Turns molehills into mountains of yikes to complain about.
Sometimes the ego's stuff gets stuffy. You come down with a cold or an ouchie more roughy.
But there's no time to rest, so get up out of bed. If you're just here and now, you won't get ahead.
Your to-do list must buzz like bees when they're busying, filling your days till they're endlessly dizzying.
Oh, the places you'll go and the people you'll see, all through the lenses of what's in it for me.
Because the ego believes there is something it lacks. And until it's found, it won't let you relax.
Perhaps you will find it in the next one you date.
True love at first sight, a soul kind of mate.
The romance is hot till the climate turns cold.
Because when two halves collide, they do not make a whole.
It's great till the love gets obscured by control.
For when two halves collide, they cannot make a whole.
So the ego moves on, ever constantly striving, addicted to seeking, afraid of arriving.
You're traveling fast at the speed of surviving, with fear in the driver's seat, doing the driving.
Or maybe you're on the fast track of success.
You're constantly driven to be great, better, best.
You're a mover, a shaker, a big-time achiever.
You're a real self-made man.
Or a dazzling diva.
You're rich and you're famous, and you make quite a splash.
You're on top of the world and rolling in cash.
You drive the right car.
You've married the right spouse.
Today, lunch with Oprah.
Tomorrow, the White House.
But at night, insecurity pays you a call, because you know at any time you could lose it all.
Your shrink says to rest.
Your spouse sure agrees.
Your doctor says ulcers.
Take 14 of these.
You know you should slow it down sooner or later, but your foot is glued to the accelerator.
Your ego consoles.
Well, at least you're successful. It's a sign of success to be constantly stressful.
You've made it to prime time and everyone loves you.
But your self-esteem's based on what others think of you.
And opinions can change in a blink of an eye.
Which is why you need meds just to get sleep and get by.
One day when you failed and succeeded enough, you witness your ego exposed in the buff.
And you realize behind all its protective clothing that the ego is simply a state of self-loathing.
And beyond that, you realize the biggest of deals.
You've dreamt up the
ego. It's not for real.
For richer, for poorer,
In all kinds of health,
you make a commitment to love yourself.
You release the projections you've placed upon others and find through forgiveness that peace is discovered.
You realize the love that you searched for outside you is what you are made of and can't be denied you.
So let go of your worries, your ironclad will. Put the logs on the fire and learn how to chill.
Your old superstitions have gone up in smoke.
like you can't rest in peace until after you croak.
You no longer fear death, or for that matter, life.
'Cause you know that all matters are safe and all right.
While resting in peace, you'll soon be inspired to go out in the world with some newfound desire.
Desires that spring from your heart and your soul, and wherever they take you, you go in there whole.
For the ego is now in the passenger seat. It rolls down the windows and takes in the treats.
There's no need to hurry. You're taking it slow.
'Cause the journey's as rich as the places you'll go. Where you are going, you don't need to know.
'Cause
the journey's as rich as the places you'll go. The journey's as rich as the places you'll go.
Oh, yes, the ego. Co-founder Charles Fillmore says it in this way: the personal self is the ego around which revolves all the thoughts that bind us to error. Simply put, that personal self, that ego-driving nature, the ego is important. It's there to record what has happened in our past to keep ourselves safe. But it's also the place where we have perception and illusion, where we can be misguided by some untrue thought. On the other hand, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And with that, we are one with that Christ consciousness, that perfect pattern of being, which lifts us up in our knowledge, in our truth, in our oneness. And so with that, with this, we balance our life, moving through them. I believe strongly this truth. The ego's one fearful belief: we are separated from God. By having just that belief, all of our drama, all of our illusions, all of our fears is based on that. When we know there's only one power and presence in the universe, God, in every cell of our being. But we get sidetracked by that. Now, the ego isn't all bad. The ego can have right-mindedness and focus on truth. The ego can also focus on wrong-mindedness and be out of balance. When we center in the truth of God within us, we know that we're always in the right place and right time in that. And, as was said in the Daily Word today by Myrtle Fillmore, When we forgive, it creates a space. And what are we going to fill it with? I suggest we fill it with our Christ consciousness, with God, with the truth of our being. This is true in all spiritual traditions. Hinduism, the Upanishads, that which is the finest essence. This whole world has that as its soul. That is reality. That is the self. That art thou. It all is. It doesn't matter what name we give it. It can be Allah or Jesus or God or divine principle. You name it, whatever works for you. And it's expressed throughout humanity because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Here in this African traditional, the Seuss prayer, Father, Almighty Force, that force which is in everything, come down between us. Fill us until we become like thee. Until we become like thee. Isn't it true that an acorn becomes an oak? Isn't it true that a pomegranate seed becomes a pomegranate? Well, it's also true that the seed of God becomes God. And that's what's in us. And it's in us as this, in Buddhism, the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. Every being has the Buddha nature. This is the self. This is that balanced self. The self that is unchanging and always present. In Islam, in the Quran, it said, I have breathed into man my spirit. The breath of God moves through us. And it's that presence that guides us, that renews us, that awakens us, and gives us what we need to navigate through the challenges that happen in our life. Is anyone here free of challenge? I'd love to meet someone who's free of challenge. It's our shared journey. And we can do it better with others. But the journey in truth is our own. Because only we can know the truth of our being. Someone else knowing that for us doesn't change our behavior. I would suggest that we have a God positioning system. That our GPS is a God positioning system that can guide us through all of life's journey. Martha Smock is a wise woman, and I go to her for wisdom many times. She was the head of Daily Word for many years. Something finer, something greater, something higher. This is what Christ in you, your God self, always calls you to be and to express. We are called to live our lives in truth as we believe it. This is why if we set our beliefs on our ego will lead us in all kinds of places. When we set our intention and belief on what is unchanging, then isn't our life full of creativity? Isn't our life filled with healing? Isn't our life filled with untold joy? I have a daily plan. This is how I'm concluding my talk. It's a way of approaching our life. In the morning and in the evening. Read a little. Read something that inspires you. It can be daily word. It might be a cookbook. It might be science of mind. It might be scripture. Read a little and meditate in the morning and the evening. And then throughout the day, practice total forgiveness. That means forgiving yourself 100% and forgiving everyone else 100%. And after we've done that forgiveness, we create space. So think about God all through the day. What we focus on, we become. So if we want shimmering presence, if we want absolute abundance, if we want healing and wholeness and serenity, why not focus on that which we want? So, morning and evening, read a little, and then spend some time in meditation. Through the day, total forgiveness. And then think about God. Create a space and fill it. So let's take this time right now to create a little space and fill it in this time of meditation.
Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti,
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
As we come into this moment of peace, we set down everything that's happened before this moment. What's past is past. What is to be later today or in the future, we let it be in the future. And we realize that at any time we can come right here to this place. Breathing easy and centering in to the moment. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. the deep indwelling Spirit within us as we listen to that still small voice now in the silence. It is in meditation that we open ourselves to our oneness, always available to us. So let's bring into our awareness in the room whatever we receive in this time in meditation, and let's take it wherever we go today, because that truth is ours. So as we bring our awareness into the room, we might wiggle our fingers or wiggle our toes, roll our shoulders or roll our necks. And then when we're ready, we'll open our eyes and we'll say this affirmation that goes with today's talk. Together, releasing all fear and doubt, I am one with my Christ nature, and so it is.
Step out on the water, release your faith. Every step is stronger. Step out on the water.